Hey everyone, welcome to Cast and Spear. My name is John, and this is the first episode of hopefully many where we're going to dive into everything fishing, from how-to guides, how to gear reviews, how to make lures, everything you ever wanted to do. Let's freaking just spend years on it. Let's have some fun. But one of the articles that we put up on our website has been just blowing up, and I wanted to make sure we put out an episode for those who don't want to read it. It's kind of long, but it's on how to choose, the best freediving fins. So if you want to go check out that article, it's castandspear.com/best-freediving-fins. Well, let's jump right in to try and figure out why freediving fins are important and how do you get the best ones for your specific needs. First and foremost, you really probably don't need the best freediving fins. Let's be real. I mean, most people don't need the best gear in the world. They really need the gear that's going to work best for them and is comfortable and fits within a certain price point that they feel comfortable spending. Now, when we get into freediving fins, the simple answer is that you need to be getting to either a certain depth or to get in position to shoot a fish with the least amount of effort, because you don't want to burn any of that precious one breath oxygen that's in your lungs. And it really comes down to your skill level. So somebody who's been freediving for a long time, if you give them some cheap plastic fins, they're probably going to do way better than a novice, even with the most high-end carbon fiber. So it's really comes down to being honest with yourself on your experience level. Some people think that the tool, which is, the freediving fin is a tool, is going to help just magically make them better. In reality, there's probably a whole bunch of other techniques, breath holding techniques, mindset kind of training that's going to make you a better freediver. But if having really good equipment keeps your mind at ease, then that's also something to consider as well. But let's get into the features of what make freediving fins unique. The first is that they have an enclosed foot pocket. Now, if you've ever put on just regular snorkeling fins or scuba diving fins, you usually just slide in your foot or your foot with a boot, and it's kind of loose and it has a pretty big pocket because you're not really needing to get a really good energy transfer from your legs to the tip of that fin. So that little bit of play, adjustability, it's fine. It's a different application. But when it comes to freediving fins, that enclosed foot pocket helps you get the best energy transfer possible. And the foot pocket needs to be comfortable. If it's not comfortable, you're going to cut off circulation in your foot, or it's going to be too loose where you're not going to have it as efficient as you want it. And the last thing you want to do is be super deep in the water getting a foot cramp. That can spell disaster. Or, if you're going to be going out for trying to hunt fish and it's going to take you 3 or 4 hours, you don't want to come in early because your foot starts cramping up. And the foot pocket is simply just like a rubber. So it's either going to be kind of soft, medium, or hard. If you want comfort, try and get one that's soft. If you want something that's high performance, go a little bit harder. That's going to give you a little bit better transfer of energy. But most of the times, people opt for the softer rubber material just because comfort really matters, especially if you're going to be in the water training for a long time. The next thing that comes into play is freediving fin blade material. The 3 main ones are plastic, fiberglass, and carbon fiber. Plastic blades, they're definitely the cheapest, but they're the least efficient style of blades. If you bend a plastic blade and you let go, it legitimately takes a while to get back to its original position, and that slowness is just pure energy lost. If you're just getting started, they're usually cheaper, they're robust, they'll take a beating, especially if you're going to be going spearfishing off cliffs and rocks and you really don't have a good way to protect, high-end fins. Plastic's a good way to go. The next step up is fiberglass. If you bend the fiberglass blade and you let go, it'll bounce back really quick. And this is the biggest difference between any style of blades, between plastic and fiberglass. That bounce back time is substantial. Now, that bounce back between like a fiberglass and a carbon fiber is not so much, and that's where, you get into the high-end stuff. But fiberglass is great. It's robust. It has the bounce back. It's higher efficiency, and it's usually relatively reasonably priced. It's going to be more than the plastic, but it's not going to be as much as carbon fiber. Now, getting into carbon fiber, they're like the Ferraris of the spearfishing world. Some of these go $450 plus. They're kind of outrageous. But, if you need the most responsive fin blade out there, it's going to be carbon fiber. Plain and simple. They have the energy transfer. So if you really need to get that bottom time, that extreme depth, or, you have to fight a current, something along those lines that are kind of fringe use cases, you got to go spend the money. But for a majority of people who aren't competing or aren't going after all the big freaking tunas out there, you'll probably be okay with the fiberglass fins. Now, fin stiffness between all three of these is highly dependent from brand to brand and the types of materials that they use, but each material can be broken down into soft, medium, and hard. Some manufacturers have poor quality control, and the soft in one batch of blades might be a little bit more firm than another batch. This is something that you always have to go with a, trusted brand who's been doing and making these fins for a long time, just so you have, especially if you're going to be buying online and you can't like really test them out in the water themselves, you kind of have to put a lot of trust into that brand. Some Spiros also, they recommend opting for a slightly stiffer fin because it will help you get a little bit more propulsion, especially when you're trying to fight and bring up a big fish. So just note that if you're not doing just pure free diving and you're also using it to go hunt big things that can kill you in the water, you want the most power you can get. And some simple firmness guidelines. If you're thinking about diving in a current, use a stiffer blade. You'll get more power per kick, and it could just save your life. If you're a Spiro, definitely use a blade that you can fight the current and bring up a fish. And if you are a pure free diver and you're not going to dive in current, go with a softer blade depending on how big you are. And if you're a pretty big guy or girl, go up your power so we get a little bit stiffer of a fin. Because the deeper you dive, the stiffer your blade should be to balance out that lack of buoyancy in the water. Now, some fins have rails and some don't. There's a group of free divers who believe that having the rails on the edges of the fins channel the water through the center and gives you more thrust. Might be a slight advantage. I think you should try it. I don't see a pure consensus across the board, but if you like them, awesome. If you don't use them. Some of the best freediving fin brands out there, if you had to go cream of the crop, if you have the money to blow and you want the best of the best, I would say it's probably the Carbonio GFT. These are some of the most advanced fins on the market, and they will exceed your expectations and take a big chunk out of your wallet. Other good quality brands, Omer, Mako, Siak, great brands. Definitely, I personally have a set of Omer. I usually go off rocks and stuff like that, so since I'm not diving super deep for spearfishing, I usually just have a plastic blade, but those are going to be swapped out for a good carbon fiber or probably fiberglass, to be honest. Don't really see myself needing the carbon fiber just yet. So how do you take care of your freediving fins? It's pretty straightforward. Really, for general care, try not to stand on them. Don't try and put much weight because you can snap the material, you can break it. I've seen some videos of the newer carbon fibers where people are driving cars over them, so the technology is definitely advancing, but it's always good to take care of your gear. You don't want to buy new stuff. So don't leave them in extremely hot or cold areas. You don't want your foot pocket to warp, so don't leave it in their car for too long, or keep your car in the shade if you're going to leave it inside. But I always bring my gear inside the house into a cool, like room temperature area, so you probably do that. After diving, it's good to just rinse them off. The salt water going to harm the material. Fresh water will probably be better over the long term. And don't use any like harmful chemicals to try and clean them. Don't put gasoline or alcohol or some of these Clorox bleach wipes or any of that stuff. Just use water if you need to. Use a little bit of soap to get off any like tar or grease that might have gotten on it. So the best free diving buyer's checklist, I kind of just put together some bullet points to help you kind of think before you go buy something. If you do go to the store, this will help you kind of just think things through. If you're new to free diving or spearfishing, stick with either plastic or fiberglass fins. Find the most comfortable foot pocket. That is mission objective number 1. Soft to medium fin firmness will probably be fine for you. Do your best not to kick the fins against any rocks to prevent them from breaking after you do buy your pair. Once you have a pair of fins that you like, it's probably good to pick up 1 or 2 more extra pairs just in case, the manufacturer goes out of business, the manufacturer doesn't sell that exact one. Having a good quality set of fins for, 5 or so years, and you're able to rotate them out. Say you have one set for going off the rocks, you have one set going off the boat, you have one set as like your backup pair. You could probably get away with not having to worry about buying these ever again. For at least for a long time, until there's some really cool new technology, or for some reason your foot gets too big, or the pocket breaks. So then make sure you use a fin sock. Some people go out without a fin sock, but the worst thing to do is have the foot pocket rub on your skin for over hours and then cause blisters. And then if you want to go dive again later that week. It's just going to be painful. Make sure when you're done diving, you clean up your fins. Just rinse it off. Be more proactive. Try not to let it sit for too long. And then don't leave your fins in a hot car. That's just a good way to keep your fins around for a lot longer. So if you want some recommendations on fins, definitely go to the website, castandspear.com/best-freediving-fins. And we have a couple different options for you to check out. Usually you can buy them on Amazon and then try them on. If they don't fit, then you can send them back. It's pretty easy. And to close out, my final thoughts, it's not about the material. It's not about any the brand that you should be focusing on. It's really 100% first and foremost the comfort that you have and how effective they are for you in the water. Because if you're worried about not being able to dive effectively, that's going to be in the back of your mind, and you're not going to get to your target dive time, target dive depth, or get those fish. You need to make sure that you trust your gear. And truth be told, if you're a great free diver or Spiro, you'll probably be great using $150 fins and probably won't need to upgrade to $450 carbon fiber fins. Just saying, your skill level is everything that matters. If you're a great Spiro, you'll probably be just as effective with plastic fins. It's just how much time you're in the water. It's not really about the gear. So just go and find something that you feel comfortable in. And if you're scared, go to a dive shop, try them on. Really just put in the time to find the ones that you are going to love, and then stick with it. You don't need to switch. You don't need to have 5 different types of fins. Just like a tennis player, you don't see them with multiple types of brands of rackets and stuff like that. Really just find one that works, that you like, that's comfortable, and stick with it. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Cast and Spear podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. That was fun. I had a good time, and I'm just hoping that you got something of value out of it. If you want to tell me what fins you ended up getting, definitely go to castandspear.com/podcast. If you have any comments or questions, let me know there as well. And if you want to hear more of these, definitely subscribe. Hopefully we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it. And until next time, keep those lines tight.